Thank you. Thank you.
Will you do the pledge of allegiance, Representative Terry, would you like to lead the pledge?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representative Bean,
Present.
Representative Bowden,
Present.
Representative Boards,
Here.
Representative Boger,
Here.
Representative Coker, Representative Comtois,
Yeah.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Here.
Representative Hewitt,
Here.
Representative McCarter.
Here,
Oh, she's on Zoom, so she's technically not
I'm
here
on
yet.
Zoom. Hi.
Representative Nagel. I'm still marking.
Virtual here.
Okay. Representative, the clerk's here, sorry. Representative Flauget,
Here.
Representative Smart. Representative St. Clair,
Here.
Representative Terry,
Present.
Representative Crowdier, Representative Barney. We have a quorum, 12 present. And then, Mr. Chairman,
Representative.
I'd like to make a motion to allow representatives to participate via Zoom.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
You can do a voice vote on that one.
Go ahead. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So you gotta do a roll call,
Yes, it's a roll call now on out.
everything.
Yeah.
Find out if it's on the Zoom.
Yeah, Representative Nagel, could you just tell me where you are and if anyone's with you?
I'm alone. I'm in a parking garage in Syracuse, New York, in my truck.
You're robbed.
Representative McCarter,
for you.
I'm actually at an Indian casino right now.
Oh,
sorry. Representative McCarter, just if you could answer the same question.
I'm home in my office in Belmont by myself.
Thank you. Tried here if he could, but he was having surgery. Yeah.
So.
And Coker too, but he's not positive. Alright.
So we only have the two on Zoom. Okay, we have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a reminder that the agenda, unless there's a two-thirds vote at any point, it can change. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So
So we gotta do a
Yeah.
roll call vote.
I'll change the agenda. Yes.
Two thirds.
Ready to vote.
Alright, still accepting the agenda. Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden. Representative Bowden. Motion is to accept the agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Boger,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Hewitt,
Yes.
Representative McCarter,
Yes,
Representative Nagel.
Yes,
Clerk votes yes. Representative Flauget,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
unanimous.
Unanimous, the agenda's approved. Can we get a motion to accept the minutes of April 23rd, 2024?
Second.
Okay, St. Clair.
Any discussion? Representative Comtois.
I noticed an error on the. If you, make sure. If you go from the last page in, page facing up here it says the motion field 5 to 7 and the roll call is motion field 1 to 11. According to the roll call.
What page is that? Sorry.
So the end page, look in and look right there. And very top. The motion field 5
Oh,
to 7.
yeah, I do.
If you want to left.
It was. Which motion was that?
The top of page,
Okay.
unnumbered.
Yeah.
Alright, I will fix that.
It's the
It's the last,
one, two,
second
the
last.
fifth, it's the fifth,
Here.
it's the fifth of the last roll call vote.
I don't know why you guys built yours. Yeah, it's that box and then the answer.
Otherwise, it's known as the only one where Barbara Comfort.
It's still what, 5 to 7. See right here.
Yeah, I got it right here.
So can we make an amendment to the motion?
Yeah, I just need to go back and fix the table. So once I go back and fix the table, can we accept the minute as amended?
Table, we just gotta fix the roll call.
Roll call,
Yeah,
did not debate, motion failed 1 to 11 instead of 5 to 7.
Okay, so amend the motion. As,
Well, if the maker and the seconder agree.
Yeah, I agree.
As is.
thank you, Representative Hopper. Alright, this is on to accept the minutes, Representative Bean, as amended, sorry, Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden,
Yes.
Representative Boger,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yep.
Representative Harvey Bullock, Representative Hewitt,
Yes.
Representative McCarter,
Yes.
Representative Nagel,
Abstain?
clerk votes yes, Representative Ploget, you are here. Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
unanimous, 1 abstention.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consideration of the agreement with the UNA Cooperative Extension.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Is there anyone here to speak to it? Mr. Chairman?
Amy is.
Well, public input is next.
I think
I guess-
She's from the
But
US.
but this,
But she is,
this is,
Would you step forward, ma'am?
May I have just a few minutes to speak
Sure.
about that particular memorandum? Thank you. My name is Amy Loader. I actually worked here in Belknap County for Cooperative Extension. At the time, my name was Amy Willette, even though. And that was from 2001 until 2009. Since then, I moved on to run the agriculture program for Cooperative Extension in Durham, New Hampshire at the university. And more recently, I just became the interim director. So I wanted you to see who I am because I am the at least the temporary director, hopefully the full-time director at some point of Cooperative Extension. I'm a UNH graduate. I've been around the state my whole life, born and raised here. I'm happy to come here and speak with you anytime if you have questions or concerns or would like to provide input or feedback to the work that Cooperative Extension does here in Belknap County. And then, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is the reason why we have this memorandum of understanding that needs a signature is that every 6 years it expires. And there's a state RSA that asks us to bring it before you every 6 years to renew our commitment to keeping an office staffed here. And renew your commitment to us to keep hearing us request a budget every year. So that's why I'm here. And I'm very grateful for this county's support of Cooperative Extension.
Thank you for your input. Does anybody have any questions? Ready? Good. Thank you.
Would it be appropriate for me to approach to give you these memorandums for signature?
Certainly.
Or would you prefer me to leave them with Angela?
Either way is fine.
Thank you. So as chair of the delegation, we would ask for your signature, sir.
Yeah, we got to vote first.
Oh, yes, okay, so I'll leave these with you. There's 2 copies, loader, yep. So that's 1 copy. And
Mhm.
delegation, so it's the second line. And that's 2 copies so that when you're done, when we have all the signatures, we give you back a copy.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
question.
Terry.
Will a copy be included in the minutes of this meeting?
I can attach one.
Yes, a signed copy should be made a part of the minutes. Yes, thank you.
You make the.
With the actions and delegations.
So we're gonna have to get somebody to make another copy. So it's
I just had a copy to make.
Oh,
copies.
We made several signatures.
Yeah, and once you get it back,
To get it back with all the signatures, you can put it in the minutes.
Is there any further discussions? Representative Bogert.
Actually, it's not a discussion. I just wanted to make a motion to approve.
It's already been
It's already
motioned
done.
and seconded and
Sorry.
we're in the
Motion made by,
discussion.
motion made by Barbara, seconded by Boards.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
You're good.
No further discussion? Would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden,
Yes.
Representative Bogert,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia.
Yeah.
Representative Hewitt,
Yes.
Representative McCarter,
Yes.
Representative Nagel,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Flojay,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
unanimous.
Passed unanimously. Is there any further public input on anything? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. My name is Lisa Warren. I'm with the Belknap County Conservation District, and I'm here tonight to ask you a question on behalf of one of my associate supervisors of the Board of Supervisors for the Conservation District, Mr. Rick DeMark. And his question is, why is cooperative extension unique among Belknap County outside agencies by having an agreement with the county when, to our knowledge, no other outside agencies were offered that opportunity? I apologize if I can't attend tonight, yes.
It's just RSA.
So I don't know if that can or.
Thank you for the question. I believe Representative Boards has an answer to that.
So there's an existing RSA through the general court pertaining to the UNH cooperative. There is no RSA pertaining to your organization or others.
It's listed in here. Chapter 24:10 dash little case A.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd be happy to give a document with the RSA's listed to Angela to include in minutes, if that's helpful.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
Yes.
Is there any further public input? Seeing none, we'll close the public input and we're going to move on to the Penstock Area Commissioner interviews.
Are we early or no? That's fast, right?
We are at 6:13, so we're 10 minutes early.
So we got to.
We can have them for numbers.
Yeah.
I
Well, no, they
thought that was
are on
already
the
done.
agenda.
Yeah, they're already set up here.
So
We have Robert Bendis, Sean Lord, Harry Stewart, Haley Bovier. Way that we do this is the three that are going to speak last will be required to go in the other room so that they don't hear the first person's interview. And as you are interviewed, you can stay. You don't have to leave for the other three. As you're interviewed, you can stay. Representative Comtois.
Yeah, I mean, we were emailed 5 resumes.
One dropped out.
One withdrew.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly, withdrew his application.
Thank you.
Yes.
Show them where to go.
So the Sean Lord,
Just by way of reminder, the 15 minutes that are indicated here on the agenda is a total of 15 minutes for a candidate. If the candidate uses all 15 minutes to speak, then there will be no questions. But the 15 minutes is allocated between speaking and questions unless the person speaks the entire 15 minutes. Thank you.
did you folks hear that?
No. There's 15 minutes. Each candidate gets 15 minutes. If they use the complete 15 minutes to speak, then there's basically no
No
questions.
questions.
No questions are answered. If they use 7 minutes,
8
Plus-
minutes.
yeah, they'll get 7.5 minutes. They have 7.5 minutes to answer questions.
Let's
Wait a second, you're saying that if they use all 15 minutes, which they can do, we can't ask any questions after that?
They're allotted 15 minutes.
There are a lot of.
Period.
We're allowed 15 minutes, we're allowed nothing.
No. It's a 15-minute interview.
That's right.
That's great, I'm thrilled about that, but again, I'm saying,
Yeah, but
if they use all 15 minutes, we don't have any time to ask questions.
right, it's their choice.
So what the hell are we doing here?
Well, most
Usually they
times,
don't use all 15.
You know, most people don't use it.
We've never had somebody use 15 minutes.
Representative,
Well,
this is how it's been done
that
for
just
6
seems
years.
really backward. But go ahead.
It's been done this way for the 5 years I've been here, prior to this. Representative, the 5 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
Why is it? With all due respect, the candidate is not to take the entire 15 minutes to speak, because then that candidate is not giving the delegation the opportunity to ask questions. No candidate has ever spoken the entire 15 minutes, the entire.
You brought it up, so I haven't even thought about it, but you brought it up, so now.
Our advisory council, there's your side.
We gotta have some decorum here. Representative, Boger.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to report to
Can you
you.
listen up, please?
Haley Bozebear is not present. So I'm just letting you know, I'm only
We
gonna
had
take.
until 7 o'clock.
Okay, but if she comes in here, that's why I'm stating that we're gonna,
I don't know her, so.
I don't know.
Just one of those
Is there
15.
any- So,
You are one of the funny guys.
Oh, yeah, hilarious.
so we're looking for Robert Benda. So you heard what they said, you got 15 minutes, if you want to leave us some time to ask you questions, it'd be to your advantage.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'd like to start off. My name is Robert Binder and I live on
Yes,
Sagamore Road in Guilford. And we built our house a couple of years ago and we bought it in 2020 and we built it. And the reason why we built up in that area, we live in Gunstock Acres. It's right across from the Gunstock Resort, which we love very, very much. Even though it might sound like I've only been in the area for 4 years, my roots go back to my grandfather, like 1910. When he came over from Europe, he worked the quarries, then he worked at the hotel, the Washington Hotel. Then later on, he went up to Boston in the dry cleaning business. So, and every summer, he used to bring us back in the 50s and 60s. So I'm familiar with the area. It's not like I just kind of carpetbag my way in from Massachusetts. And the reason why I applied, I don't know if you have my resume in front of you at all, and everything, is I have an extensive business background, which I thought would be beneficial to the Gunstock area. Also, I did not put down my educational background because I wanted to be judged more on my business ability than my academics, but I will give you my academics. I'm a 1974 graduate of Northeastern University, where I have a criminal justice degree, where I majored in pre-law business. I was going to be a lawyer and go on to Suffolk University, but I got swayed from my uncle, who's also in the alcoholic business, who's now deceased, and that's why I went into business. And I remember one of my classmates said to the professor, he said, "How many businesses did you start?" And the professor said, "None." And my classmate said, "Then how can you teach us anything about business when you don't know anything about business?" The reason why I bring that up is because I'm not a skier. And people say, if you don't know anything about skiing, how could you know how to run an organization? I'm looking at this point. My expertise is in business. So I'm looking at it from a business point of view. So if you people have questions about my business acumen or my philosophy on business towards the acres, I'd be very happy to take the question.
Representative Tompkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for applying and taking the time to be here with us tonight. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Just a quick question. You're applying to be a Gunstock commissioner. What is your opinion of the statute, bylaws, and policies governing the commission, the Gunstock Area Commission? Do you have any opinions about it? Anything that you think can be improved?
You mean the one that was 1959? Is that the statute you're referring to?
Yes.
It kind of limits the commissioner's ability, especially if I'm reading it correctly, that you cannot interfere with the everyday operation of the management and things of that nature, that more or less your role is an overseer towards the management, which I agree 100%. You cannot micromanage your management.
Thank you. And do you think that everyone should be following that statute?
Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Terry.
Yes, ditto, Representative Comtois' expression of appreciation for your interest and fun. I'm wondering if you could tell us how many meetings of the commission you have attended as a member of the public. And upon reflection, do you believe that there are any improvements that can be made to the work of the commission that you would intend to bring forward if elected?
Actually, I watched one Zoom one. And the reason why I did not attend any of the meetings is because I didn't want to go there and listen to what the commissioners had to say. And kind of focus on what they were saying. Then when I came before you people saying, wow, this is what the commission's saying, I'm sure you want to hear that. I didn't want to, get a background saying, well, this is what they want. I wanted to go there, carte blanche, not knowing where their position was and work with them to compromise if my position in their position did not gel. And I draw upon my experience I'm on the Guilford Community Power Commission. And again, we had consensus and we come up with a unanimous decision for the power, which I have a meeting next week for the town. But again, to answer your question, the reason why I did not attend is because I did not want to be biased in either way. I want to go in there with a clear mind, either to change their mind or they change my mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions from the delegation?
And if I can add also to it, this is my position towards it. I believe 100% that the county should not sell that entity.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The county cannot sell gun stock.
Because I remember that was the controversy when we were building and everything,
That's what they said, but that was never in question.
okay.
I just want to make that perfectly clear, that nobody on this delegation ever entertained even.
Well, I'm saying if it ever did come up,
It cannot.
it cannot come up by statute. Okay. And also too, if I can address the finances too, I'm a firm believer in cash reserves. The more cash reserves you have, the better off you are not to borrow money. If you have to borrow money and pay interest, that interest money could have been used for improvements. And I agree that there should be improvements because you have to be competitive. And if you're not competitive, then you're not going to survive. But you have to go steady. You have to have a game plan in everything. But cash is the most important thing. You've got to have strong things because if I'm not mistaken, if you could correct me, that I believe there was a bill before the legislature in Congress that some rep, I don't know who it was, wanted to increase what they would pay. I don't agree with that. I mean, if you want to be a self-sustaining entity, then the more you take from that entity, the less they're going to have to invest, the less they're going to have to pay the employees. And also too is that's basically, I don't like to use the word gold mine, but it's an opportunity for the area. Not only for the children growing up to go there, but also opportunities for jobs, opportunities for tax revenue, opportunities for businesses to survive around it. I mean, we have so much going for us there. It'd be a shame to see anything happen. I mean, for 100 years, previous generations have enjoyed it. So, let our future, generations enjoy it as it is.
How much time is left?
Oh, he's got 8 minutes.
You got 8 more minutes.
You can sing and dance.
Say. He started it.
I mean, do you people have any questions about my financial opinion of how it should be run or?
Sure,
That's right.
Okay,
go, let us know.
okay. The way I'm looking at it is, the customer or the skier is the most important thing. They're the ones that set the tone. I mean, we can have all the, projections in the world. That's why I always laugh at projections. Somebody said this winter, we're going to project, we're going to take an X amount of money. Looking at last year, last year, I'm not saying last year, but last year, let's say we had 200 inches of snow. But if this year we only get 80 inches of snow, those projections go out the window. And if your budget is based on those projections that you can't live up to, then everything else that you've budgeted down the line is going to fall out of whack. And there's nothing worse if you're a self-sustaining entity that come before this committee and say, we need tax money. We need money from the taxpayers. If somebody's struggling in Belknap County, you're supposed to make ends meet, they're gonna say to themselves, why are these people looking for money when I can't even, put food on my table? So the area has to stay financially stable. So that's where I look at that. And you do that by, putting things in guidelines. I mean, it's great to spend all kinds of money, but if you don't have that money in the bank, I mean, you can look at it this way. Some people will argue that debt is good. People say there's good debt and bad debt. The way I look at it is everything is bad debt. Because if you have to borrow money, that interest that you're paying on it, people are gonna say, some people say this, I disagree with them. Well, if you borrow money today, that pay it back over 10 years, you're paying back with cheaper dollars. That's not the case, the interest you're paying. And other people say, well, if you borrow the money with inflation, it's gonna cost you more money when you have the cash. But if you're on solid financial grounds, then that's all irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. As long as you have the cash flow coming, cash flow is the most important thing, really. So that's my view on that.
Any other questions? How much time is left?
5 minutes and 24 seconds.
You still got 5 minutes left. If you got anything else you can think of that you'd like to say.
As I said before, I brought the experience. And like I said, I worked the trenches. The professors in college had all kinds of graphs. This is the way you run a business. This is what you do. But you know what? My first day in business, the first time I owned a business, at the end of the day, I looked at the cash register and said, you know what? At the end of the week, if this is all there is, how's the help going to get paid? There was many, many weeks, and I'm sure any of you people that own a business, that you don't get paid. Same way with gun stock. If the money's not there, how can we get the best talent? So like I said, people say I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm not a fiscal conservative. I'm a sensible person when it comes to the finances. And I've worked the trenches. I put my way through college and not blow my own horn. I worked 2 jobs. I worked for the Mass DOT. I shoveled snow. I shoveled asphalt. I know what it's like to be in the trenches. So I know what it's like to be a rank and file worker. And all these people that have digesting, all these people that have student loans and everything, you're not gonna get ahead. But I got ahead because I didn't have student loans, because I worked 2 jobs. It's the same way with these kids that want to work at gun stores. Give them an opportunity to work. They're working, they're meeting people. They might be, future entrepreneurs themselves. They can meet different people. Plus, it helps the community. Gun store helps the community. It helps the county. Been around for 100 years. I mean, it's had its ups and downs. But then again, it's there. And that's the reason why I live up there. People say, well, I'm 1 mountain away. When I'm on the top of the mountain, I look across in the snow and I see the lakes going down the trail. I said, I'm 73 years old. I said, this is where I'm ending it. And this is the reason why I'm here. And like I said before, I have the education, which I value education, but believe me, there's no substitute for being in the trenches. When the help, some weeks made more money than I did. And believe me, I know you need good help. That's why I could work with the management, because if they come to me, say, we need this, we need that, or whatever. And there's one thing I wish I'll address this, is Ray Kroc used to say, keep the bathrooms really, really clean, because that's what the customer is gonna base it on. And I noticed in gun stock, it's been since about March, when you first drive in a new parking lot, somebody hit one of those overhead lights. And every time I walk in 2 or 3 times a week, they still have cones around it, and they still have tape. And I say to myself, if I was a person coming in for the first time, and I see cones around the light, and the light down, there's no light there, what else is missing here? So that is a little particular thing of mine, that if I notice that, what else are people saying? Well, if this light is not here with cones and tape around it, is that lift safe? So that's what I'm pointing. It's a little idiosyncrasies of what people can, it's the perception of what you are, not what actually you are. So if you don't have any other questions, I'll.
Is there any other questions from the delegation? I guess there isn't. You only had like 1.5 minutes left, but you don't have anything else.
No, like I said, just, base it on what I've said.
Thank you.
Okay,
very
thank you
much.
very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next one, Sheriff, the next one is Sean Lord.
Is Kelly in your room? Just asking.
It's Kaylee Bovier.
Okay.
While we're waiting, if Kaylee doesn't show up, just so that everybody has time to get used to this, I'm going to move, ask unanimous consent that we move to deliberation rather than sit here for 15 minutes. If there's unanimous consent, we don't have to have a 2/3 vote. If somebody objects, then I'll make a motion so that we can get a 2/3 vote to move to deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sean Lord, you're gonna have
Good.
15 minutes if you want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be about 3 or 4. I'm pretty quick, so. So you have plenty of time to ask me any questions. But, the main reason why I wanna be on, I've, skied gunstock. I've lived in New Hampshire since 1999. So I'm originally a Maina, Octagon Yard. And I went in the army, and so I spent, 15 years over there in Europe, skiing all over the place. I was on the US military ski team, and I just love skiing. However, skiing and the commissioner position is really, to me, it's, a financial position, it's a financial control position. So, but if you really love something, you should really, be a part of it. And I want to be part of the community without being in politics. So that's why I really would like to be part of this, Why I think I'd be good at it is, I'm a veteran, so, Gunstock's always had a veterans discount, but, they don't advertise it. It's unadvertised. I think that, I could help with the veterans community in Manchester, get the word out to get some business in. However, I think over the time that I've been here since 1999, the biggest problem with the commission has not been, it's been personalities, So, when I went for the job, 2 cycles ago, I said that I would vote with the chairman for the first year. And I think that's important because, I really don't, I've been on commissions for building posts in the military overseas. That's a totally different world than being on a commission for a ski resort. So you just need to learn the ropes. What I do bring to the table is a lot of business experience with loss control. I think I'm the only board member that would have a cash business. So Gunstock is a cash business. As it moves away from cash to credit cards, it's still a cash business when it comes to internal controls. Because there's always ways to cheat the system. So loss control, I'll give you an example, probably the biggest weakness in most resorts are the bars. I'm not a drinker. I do drink 1 beer at the beer cup. I do the beer cups on Wednesdays. So I keep it at 1 beer because I'm tipsy at 1. So I switched to ginger ale. Ginger ale, by the way, tastes twice as good after you've had a beer because it's twice as sweet. But, I'm really impressed with the new food manager that Tom has brought in because the offerings are, they're a little more modern, a little more upbeat, both with a food venue and with the liquor. Now, again, I'm not a drinker, but when I go to other resorts like Killington, Okibo, always check that out. Having a restaurant myself, a key part of having a successful restaurant is first the menu, then the venue, which is, the ambiance, the location, and then the service. And I think they do a great job at it, but there could be opportunities there with loss control when it comes to, portioning alcohol. I don't get mixed drinks, so I don't know if they overpour it all. I have no clue, But as my experience with the military, having to work with NCO clubs, officer clubs, and doing liquor inventories every Wednesday night, being the guy had to sign off that, yeah, all the booze is there. That's a good experience to bring. However, they may not need it. So loss control, productivity is the other thing that we work with in retail. So the difference between retail and a resort is considerable. However, because you're dealing with customer service, productivity, you can't bring it down to where the customer can't be taken care of. So my experience with Gunstock is they have a good control over that. You know, you can get service, there's people manning the right lifts are open. They're not running lifts that, you know, don't have, you know, traffic on it. So again, though I have that experience, they don't need it at this time, but they may need it in the future. So that's the other thing, productivity management and P&L management, the cost management for, you know, each department, looking which each department spends and how they allocate their resources compared to last year, the year before, which is extremely difficult with Gunstock because, you know, with the pandemic, you just had a fantastic year where you couldn't even hire people. You couldn't be judged on your productivity that you didn't give enough service because you couldn't even hire people, couldn't even run the restaurant. You know, with people had to, you know, sit outside or get the food from there. But if you look at the delta, the difference between the average for the last 3 years, the last 5 years, and the last year, you can really get a good figure which way the resort's going. And just setting up a system like that, I do that in my own business, and yet I run it every day. You know, I'm behind that register at least an hour almost every day, especially from May, September. But even I do that just to see, so I can get a good vision on it. So that's kind of what I bring to the table. And I don't know if there's a veteran on the commission, but I think that's important that at some time that we do have one. And I'm a U.S. Army veteran from, you know, Europe from 86 to 90. And I served with APHIS overseas. That's the Army Air Force Exchange Service. And we had all the facilities that the soldiers used to shop, bowling alleys. We actually had a ski resort, Garmisch, and we also had lake hotels, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyways, I've been skiing Gunstock since 1999, and one reason why I bought the house in Gilmington is because there was a ski resort nearby, and my daughter learned there, and she got her professional ski instructor level 2 there at Gunstock, and so I'm proud to be a Gunstocker, whether I be on the commission or not. I'm still proud to be a Gunstocker. So that's kind of my spiel, short and smooth. What questions?
Representative Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you applying for the Gunstock Commission. I'm going to ask you the same question. Regarding the statute, policies, and bylaws of Gunstock, what are your views on any of those, and do you feel like anything needs to be changed or can be improved on?
Well, you know, I'm not familiar in depth with all of them. Some of the ones that I've read about during the, you know, tenure of what's been in the Laconia Daily Sun, you know, some of them may need to be changed, but I think the importance is that you get the management to buy in with, you know, 3 commissioners. So whenever you work with a board, so in corporations, we work with a board. A board slows everything down. So it controls everything so you don't do anything unwise. But unfortunately, that hamstrings or handicaps the management team. So I do believe the management team should be accountable at the end of the year, but if they need to buy something today, I think they just need to inform, for instance, the chairman of the board, which chairman of the commission, that this is an urgent need and we need to do that. So, however, the bylaws are not written that way today. So, yeah, I guess freedom of management, you're still, as a manager, you're accountable at the year end. So you've got to pay the piper when the books close. There's no way of getting around it, you know? So I think that would be the only thing off the top of my head that I would think that is possibly ineffective.
Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to follow up on something you said earlier. about cash. Gunstock has gone cashless.
Oh,
So I just wanted to let you know that.
yeah.
Representative Terry.
Thank you. Once again, thank you for your interest in the position. You mentioned in your introductory remarks that you would envision yourself voting the way the chairman votes when votes are taken
For the
for
first year, yeah.
the first year. Wondering if you could tell us how many meetings you've actually attended of the commission, and was that a factor in your decision to make a commitment to us that you would be voting with the chair for the first year of your tenure?
Well, actually, no, it's my experience with Patch Barracks. So Patch Barracks in Germany, this would be about 1994. It was extremely political. The commission, not a commission, the board to decide where the bowling alley is going to go and where the Rod and Gun Club is going to go for the renovation. And the colonel that was the board was trying to get something done. And I found it best that as long as it wasn't in violation, if it wasn't affecting how the servicemen were going to be served, I would vote with the chair. And, you know, there were a lot of, you know, generals' wives that just wanted the process to go on meeting after meeting. And I did notice at some of the gunstock commissions that it was just a little bit too argumentative. You know, I'm a old school Irish Catholic, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents in. You know, that's all there is to it. You know, however, that doesn't mean that you can't step aside. You know, the first thing you learn in a Ranger battalion is lead, follow, or get out of the way. And so I've followed that rule through, you know, my military career and my business career. That doesn't mean that I'll put a full comment what I believe in, for sure.
Just follow. So should we understand that your remarks are rooted in your experience attending or viewing the Gunstock Commission meetings, as well as your past experience in the military and business? I mean, I was wondering how many meetings.
I've only gone to 2 of those.
Excuse me?
2.
You've attended 2 meetings. Okay. Great, thank you.
Minutes left.
Any more questions from the delegation? You got 2.5 minutes left. If you've got anything else you'd like to add.
I don't. I think we're moving it right along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna, thank you, sir. Gonna take a break we gotta wait 2 minutes. Because the time is on here.
It's Stuart on here.
Is Stuart here?
Stuart here, yeah, Stuart's here.
Well, we still gotta wait 2 minutes.
He's here, so he can go.
Okay. It's like I'm overruled.
Yeah, he's here, he can go.
It says on the
You didn't
paper.
go on exactly the time.
We'll fudge this.
So if you bring him in, Sheriff, I appreciate that. I don't even know the person. No.
Yeah. Seen him a couple times.
Gentlemen.
Good evening, representatives.
Good evening. So you have 15 minutes. If you save time for questions, would be good. If we run out of questions, we'll give you back your time.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking all of you.
Would you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Terry Stewart. I live in Alton Bay, New Hampshire, and I'm a proud resident of Belknap County. All my life, at least up to this point. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for appointing me 2 years ago. And I have to admit that I was happy that I got the 2-year appointment at the time because I wasn't sure what to expect given the backdrop of the history. And after the last 2 years, it's just been a great experience. An absolute unexpected pleasure. My first and foremost goal was to represent the citizens and residents of Belknap County and to make sure that I didn't want to do anything to regret your appointment and to serve the county proud. So with that said, I am currently the secretary unless something changes here. And so no matter what happens here today, I thank you for that point. And the secretary position has been interesting for me. I guess I'll say I was volunteered for it. But
Last man in.
yeah, it's kind of like you're standing next to the shovel and someone says, we need to dig a hole, who can do it? And so I've done it, and it's been actually a benefit because there are actually studies that say that you can listen to something and you get some level of retention. But if you write down what you've heard, the retention goes up. Obviously, if you can repeat it without reading your words, it goes up even more. So to that extent, being the secretary and having to deal with the minutes and make the corrections when people find out that you've made some mistakes has been an interesting experience and a welcome one. So I would look forward to continuing that. So with that said, there's been a lot of great things going on at Gunstock area, and I've enjoyed watching them unfold. We have a great, I think, we have great, I say, karma going with the commission and the senior team, along with all the great employees that work there. I think I've sent all of you I guess I'll say my resume or my accomplishments. And I just love going to the area. I don't tell people who I am in terms of being a commissioner. I like to get their input, just raw. And I'm happy to say that a lot of people, everybody I've met just thinks that the place is great. The employees are great. They've been great to me. They've been great to my granddaughters, my wife. So it's just been a great experience. So with that said, I'll let you folks ask whatever questions you'd like to.
Representative Comfort first, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for serving on the board. Now that you have served for 2 years as Gunstock Commissioner, how familiar are you with the statute, bylaws, and policies of Gunstock? And do you believe they're following them to the letter, to what they're supposed to be? Are they being enforced?
Thank you for the question. I am familiar with them to the extent that it affects my service. And yes, I do believe we are fulfilling that to the statute. And the added policies, and I am familiar with the efforts to make some changes. And I believe that with the policy changes that we agreed to do when I was here for the appointment 2 years ago, I think have really helped shape the atmosphere between the senior leadership and the committee. We all know what our swim lanes are, and we all take them pretty seriously. Gunstock's a unique place. It is a for-profit business, and it is being run, if you will, by a government-appointed committee. So we must do our business in public with full transparency. I do the minutes, so we take that very seriously, and I've served in government before, so I understand. I think that's what kind of makes me uniquely qualified to continue, because I understand that side of it. And I've worked for a business for 30 years. And I understand the for-profit part of it. And I understand that we should make profit to pay as we go. There are people that want to, build great things there and borrow lots of money. I'm not one of those. I think that we can accomplish a master development plan that gets it done with the proceeds that we're making, because we're managing the place properly. That answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
Representative Boards.
So speaking of accomplishments, you brought up, what is What accomplishment are you most proud of since you joined the commission?
Well, I think the policies one is probably first and foremost because it does set those swim lanes. And I thought honestly that it would be a bigger challenge than it was, but it was a welcoming policy work. It is as I say in my resume, it's a living document. We voted on it each year. I believe we'll vote on it every year. We'll make whatever adjustments that we need to make with that policy. But it alleviates the chaos that I think led to where they were before I came into the picture. The other, and I think that's just really important because it's important, but I'm also proud of the things that are being done there. The capital improvements, either side understanding what a jewel the place is, and it is confined to the size that it is. It can be bigger to some degree, but I think to increase the revenues and maximize them as is happening now, you have to put the investments in it to keep the people coming and give it the best, so we can provide the best customer experience. So, and I'm one of 5 commissioners, and I think we have an excellent diverse group. Everybody brings a little something to the table and a different skill set. And my skill set is really all about the customer experience. And we have other commissioners that are all about finance aspect and so forth. So that's what's made it really, quite frankly, such a pleasure.
Representative Terry.
Yes, Mr. Stewart, thank you for your service and for your interest in serving a term. I don't have to ask you the question I asked the 2 previous candidates, which was how many meetings have you attended? Since I would assume you attended all the meetings unless you've had 1 or 2 excused absences. The question, therefore, that I would want to put to you has to do with my reflecting upon a proposal that was floated several years ago by the commission for a major expansion of gun stock. At that time, there was very little public awareness of any such plan. We're looking at a public rather than a private ski area. This is a public entity, therefore it's effectively held in trust for the people of Belknap County and the citizens of New Hampshire. They're the stakeholders. We are as residents of Belknap County particularly. Do you believe that if there were to be any future plans, thoughts or plans for any kind of major expansion at Gunstock, that at the very initial level stage, that public input would be sought as to how any kind of future expansion might be moved forward, what it would look like, to solicit and elicit from the citizens of Belknap County what they would like to see, and take direction to a great extent from the citizens before drawing up a proposal and then asking people whether they like it or not, top down. Could you comment on that, please?
I would be happy to. Thank you for the question. And I think it's an excellent question because everybody has varying thoughts of what kind of development should be there. I think, and in fact, should I continue to serve, I would like to see the new general manager, Rob Drake, get some ground under his feet before we start diving into what would be, I'd say, a new master development plan. I'm not sure if you're aware that the previous master development plan has been deleted. It's no longer, we voted to scrap it and start fresh. I said publicly and continue to say publicly that we welcome during the public input portion of every meeting we have, that we'd love to hear the public's ideas of what they would like to see. I would also like to see, like I say, once General Manager Robert Drake gets on his feet, like to see perhaps a workshop, because to answer the first part of your question, I've not missed a single meeting, which includes workshops. And I'd like to see a workshop where we can have what I call free-flowing ideas. And I think my take on what happened with the current, what was the previous master development plan, was it kind of got rolled out, like, boom, there it is. And it got put out into the public domain, like this is gonna happen. And people were like, well, where'd that come from, right? So I say a workshop, because whatever we do, it's okay for, when you have a free-flowing idea, businesses do this all the time. You just let any ideas come out, get them on the table. That doesn't mean they're gonna happen. I mean, they could just be crazy. You can't announce to the public, this is what we're gonna do. This is just a workshop for what it is. And all kinds of things can come from that. You can learn a lot of things from that. But then then eventually you rein it in and say, this is what's realistic. And everybody has their own ideas about that. But me personally, you're asking for my ideas. I said earlier, I like the pay-as-you-go approach. We have an $8 million bank account right now. We want to keep growing it. And as we see projects, all the capital improvement projects, CapEx projects that we address are working toward a master development plan. We need to get one kind of written so we have a goal to move to.
Representative Nagel has had his hand up for a while and there's only 2 minutes left.
This is just a quick follow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you hear me all right?
Representative Nagel, just
Hold on. All right. So just this quick, I just want to make sure you believe that with respect to any future major development, that you want to have the public involved in the visioning process at a very early stage.
Yes, I'd
Thank
like
you.
to.
Thank you, I know.
Representative Nagel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our previous applicant kind of alluded to one group that he felt that we probably should be doing a better job with. I'm just curious, what groups of people are not at Gunstock now, and what can we do to help bring them there?
You mean groups of people that are going to enjoy the mountain?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
You've only got a minute, sir.
I have a minute. Yeah, there's a lot more than a minute worth of answer, but I'll give you the best answer I can give you. We continue to constantly, and I think in my resume, I said to constantly look for more revenue, ways to seek revenue, get revenue. And I think that we're united in the fact that we want a pay-as-you-go approach, unless we had to really come and say, this makes sense, let's borrow money. It'd have to be a big idea, and it could be. The challenge is the weather, and I want to say the summer weather is as challenging as the winter weather because we have all of this in our backyard. So where we are making investments is, and I have to give kudos to the senior team and their people that make it happen, is the weddings. We started doing weddings again. We've invested in the stuff to allow them to have big weddings and corporate functions. And they've been great, and we've made good money from them. And I think we'll continue to do that. The campground, we're currently underway with the CIP project to make some huge improvements. Representative Sinclair, 2 years ago, you did make a comment that the campground is really hard to get into. It's
Sir.
well sought.
This time thing was voted on and I have to adhere to it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Thank
Sorry, Representative Sinclair.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm available anytime you want.
That's right. There's phone number right on.
Thank you. Sheriff Wright, is Kaylee Bover here? Hi, so the way that this is working, I guess you wasn't here earlier when we explained this, each person is getting 15 minutes and it would be to your advantage to leave some time for questions. If there's time left at the end, you will be allowed to use the rest of your 15 minutes, but it's timed and
Okay,
So if you give your name and where you're from and
Sure. So my name is Kaylee Bover. I currently live in Guilford. I am a nursing and business administration background. I currently am employed in the medical device industry. I have a family, husband and 3 young children, and consider myself to be a hardworking and driven individual.
so go ahead and tell us why you want to be the.
Sure, yeah, I think there's a couple of different reasons. One, I value the recreational area for what it's given to me in the past and what it represents for the future. So I grew up skiing there. You know, we didn't have the summer operations once upon a time, but now that I have children, I spend an avid amount of time there at all 4 seasons. I think it represents a recreational gem in our community that we're lucky to have, and we should invest and continue to keep it the gem that it is moving forward. And I think that, you know, I desire to be involved in that aspect of things. I haven't typically been involved in town politics or anything in the past, but if I'm going to direct my attention to somewhere, it would be something that I have a passion and desire to participate in.
Do you have any background that you, well, we have a Representative Sinclair.
Thanks. Do you see any areas in your visitations to the visits to Gunstock, that areas that are lacking, that you could see immediate need for improvement in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just has started. I would have said terrain would have been one. I mean, I know we're in a limited capacity, if you will, in terms of what the mountain can do within its confines now, but I think that is one piece, you know, taking advantage of terrain we haven't used in the past. There are, you know, the trails that we focus on with Hutchod and Upper Ramrod that are typically natural snow areas. I think from a winter aspect, from a summer aspect, I think there's the opportunity, you know, there's camping, there's opportunities there as we move forward, as well as the wedding venue could be kind of exercised more in terms of generating income and maybe even corporate events. You know, I know there's been a lot on the table in other surrounding towns, but that represents a gem that can be utilized for those aspects as well. I wouldn't say it's lacking, but there's opportunities that maybe it can be bolstered.
Thank you.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being here for applying.
Yeah.
So the question I have is regarding the statute, policies, and bylaws of Gunstock, and I wonder how familiar you are with them, and do you think they should be adhered to?
Yeah, I mean, I have familiarized myself in recent terms, if you will, with the bylaws. I think there's a couple of things that I would say. I wouldn't say it's an overhaul aspect, but I think, you know, focusing on removing a lot, you know, having sure that there's transparency in what the commissioners are doing in terms of their oversight of Gunstock. You know, there's the ethics policy and things like that. But I think it's worthy to look at them and see if there are opportunities to work out where it may be vague or give more clarity, you know, stakeholder trust, et cetera, the way that the mountain is running or being oversaw from a day-to-day basis. But that's where I see, you know, just looking at it in a routine growth opportunity, not necessarily a tear down and build up aspect.
Thank you.
Representative Nagel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to steal Representative Terry's question in a little bit different way, but I'm just curious, how many Gunstock Commission meetings have you been to? And secondly, what do you think that you could add to the commission that may be lacking right now?
Yeah, sure. So I think I've been to a couple of meetings. I haven't routinely been there, but when I started to have interest in being a commissioner is when I started to attend. In terms of what I feel like I could provide that isn't necessarily lacking, but I feel like I can add to it is a couple of things. I think from an experience standpoint, I've had a lot of matrix environment in the work, you know, in a work environment, whether that's, you know, influencing without authority, trying to build stakeholder trust, working through change and improvement. I think it's governance. So having experience setting up governance structure, how do we make decisions? How do we mitigate risk? And I think the third piece is really just, you know, trying to float any and all ideas on the table and really utilizing those to transition into initiatives that add value, generate income, and those aspects. So that's where I feel like from an experience standpoint, I can add to the commission.
Thank you.
Representative Terry.
Yes, in fact, Dr. Nagel did steal my question. So
Sorry.
Say is thank you for your interest in your application. And I will be speaking with Dr. Nagel sometime in the near future.
Unfortunately, I'm near Hornell right now, so I'm in your territory.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any other questions from the delegation? Any other questions right now? We have 9 minutes left. If you have anything else you'd like to add, and maybe you'll drum up some more questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the only thing that I would likely add is, I feel like I've done a decent amount of work trying to prepare in terms of what this entails. In terms of oversight and what the commission really needs going forward, what gun stock needs or maybe could benefit from going forward. I mean, I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. This is an avenue where I feel like I could add value and, like I said, haven't in the past, but looking forward to that opportunity now that I'm emerging from, having a lot of young children, so.
Representative Comfort.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again for taking my question. You mentioned the terrain at Gunstock. What is your vision if you were to be selected as a commissioner? What would your vision look like for expanding or improving the terrain?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think to date, the mountain has done a great job trying to maximize what they have, separating opportunities for freestyle and kind of separate those from the public crowd, the beginner area as well. I think it's focusing on, without going to some sort of major expansion plan, it's seeing where can we widen trails where there's flow issues, or where can we find more opportunities for that maybe intermediate or more expert terrain. I think one group, if you will, that may be lacking in terms of their regular patronage to Gunstock would be those that feel like they have to go somewhere else to get more challenging terrain or more, we get the beginners, but that aspect as well as the beginners who live in the area who maybe don't utilize the mountain as much. So, trying to entice that as well as looking for whatever we can challenging terrain.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I speak with a lot of folks who love to snowboard and ski. And although they would love to go to Gunstock, they actually find that it bang for the dollar. It's easier for them to be able to go to Loon, Sunday River to get a pass for that. And even though Gunstock is closer to be more convenient, they actually are willing to travel further. So, we're losing our residents to outside the county. Any ideas on how we can keep them here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only one question would be bang for your buck in terms of they feel like they have more value somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from those aspects of maybe specifically snowboarders.
Well, no, skiers too.
Skiers too. I mean, I think
it has to do with the season pass.
Yeah, with the season pass aspect, I mean, I think that one thing, whether right or wrong, that has changed in the past few years is that Belknap County discount, if you will, associated with passes. I know that we give that on the day-to-day, the weekend tickets every day but Saturday. But if there is some aspect that to feel like, I'm getting a discount or I'm adding some value, is there some way to structure some of those pricing capabilities? I know that's more of a day-to-day operation standpoint, but are there things that we can do from that aspect to entice, or are there like 2-for-1 type, other value aspects to look at to draw them close to home? Events, other things like that as well.
Any other questions?
Beagle's got his hand up.
Yeah, it just went back up.
Yeah, Representative Nagel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, what you just asked and said really struck something with me. What groups of people, outside of our county do you think aren't coming, and what can we do more to bring outside groups? And I'm speaking more in terms of a diversity. How do we attract other people to come up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a winter aspect, if you're focusing on just the winter, I think, like I said earlier, it's more that intermediate to expert level that are probably going elsewhere. But are there other types of winter activities, right? We have skiing, but there are other like winter biking and other aspects which we can look at to kind of draw, or are there events that can be held that kind of, keep people close. I think they've done a great job with beginners, mainly the out of town beginners, but I think there's also an aspect from in-town beginners or those that don't ski today, other opportunities from a winter aspect there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You've got 5 minutes left. Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, I think I'm good at this time.
No other questions? Well, thank you very much for your. So, she doesn't
Yeah,
have,
they're all good.
yeah, she can stay.
You can say no.
Are the other three still in here?
I see one.
They all can be in here now, Sheriff Wright. She's the only one trying to escape. You don't necessarily have to sit there in the hot seat. I don't know if this, we're gonna,
He's good to go back to the audience and we'll just deliberate.
okay, so we're just gonna deliberate, so you can go into the audience if you would, please. So does anybody in the delegation have anything that they want to say in favor or opposed to any of the applicants?
I just want to thank all the applicants for coming. I think everybody that we interviewed was a great candidate. Kind of a tough decision, but I think everybody did a great job and they all have something to offer.
Representative Dumas.
Well, I was on the commission for a number of years and I ran a ski area. The two that stand out to me are Terry Stewart and Kaylee Bovai. So.
Kaylee Bovier?
Bovai.
Oh.
Bovai.
I'm sorry. I got you now.
3 o'clock on me the camel go.
I don't know what that was. Probably wasn't good. Representative Floyd.
And I'll follow up on Representative Dumas, May.
Sumac.
As I first turned in, I voted for Russell, so he would go back, he didn't make it, because he was there and why change it, things going good, from my point of view. I see it again with Terry. He's there, doesn't need to be retrained and a new person coming in. It's good applicants. Myself, I'd like to keep the status quo, to keep it going smoothly like it has been. So, I did speak to Terry before the meeting to let him know that I would be supporting him if I didn't hear anything different. Good candidates, but like with Russell, I want to keep the same horse as across the river.
Any other comment, Representative Hewitt?
There are 4 people who applied. How many members go off the board at this particular time?
One.
One.
It's one per year. That's why they're 5-year terms.
This makes it harder.
Representative Sinclair.
Forgive me for my lack of remembering, but is this a paid position?
We get so much a meeting like you do. We get
How much is so much?
free skiing
How much?
and free skiing.
Oh, free skiing? So I was gonna recommend that anybody can get on, they could run for the state house for $100 a year. But it's not, I'm not laughing, but the pay is better for this.
Yeah.
But in any event. But I agree with Russ. I like those 2 candidates you mentioned. The other ones have good things too.
They're good people.
Well, I think, and only one person's gonna get it tonight, and I'm sure that everybody would agree that we would, 1 year is not that far off. There's gonna be another opening, and they should definitely come back and apply, by all means. It just sucks having to pick for me personally. It's just, but anyway, it's like how.
Representative Terry.
Sometimes when a group is involved in the interviewing process, it's really clear who rises to the top. I've been through several of these interviews sessions, and we have been blessed on several occasions now with some really good candidates, applicants, and that makes it a more difficult decision for us. But it speaks to the quality of the people who have come before us, and I just want to express my appreciation for that. Also want to mention a couple of things, and one is, I had a conversation with the chair of the commission, a little over a month ago, and I asked him how things were going, and he said things are going really well. And, to the best of my recollection, he said, yeah, things are going really well. With the current makeup, and I had observed that, there was a whole lot less chatter and upset over the course of the last year or so, with a group that appears to be getting along really well and doing a good job, and that there are really no controversies. And I mentioned the current person in the position who's come and asked to be appointed for a full term. And my recollection, once again, is that he said he thought he was doing a really nice job. I know that we don't elect commissioners here by geography or by districts, but I come from an area of the county, Alton and Barnstead, which is about as far away from Gunstock as you can get. And I think it's really important for the people of Alton and Barnstead, and for Gunstock really to have someone serving from the lower part of the lower geographically, that is, a lower part of the county, and being involved. And the fact that he's doing a really fine job, I think, really commends him just a little bit more than the other candidates. All of them, once again, who I thought were very impressive in their presentations tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the delegation want to say anything?
Yeah. Hands up.
Nagel,
Nagel.
Representative Nagel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to reiterate, everybody was very impressive. Thanks for coming. I would like to thank specifically Mr. Lord for coming back a couple times. I've always been very impressed with your presentation. I worked in the tennis industry for about 12 years, and we marketed very heavily to certain groups, veterans, lower socioeconomic groups, things like that. And that's the way you grow a business, is they start there and eventually they come back when they're not in those situations. And we do owe that to our veterans. And I would ask Mr. Lord, even if you don't get elected tonight, that you take a leadership role in helping Gunstock cater to the veteran community, because we certainly owe them a lot. With that said, I think the thing that most impressed me in this entire process was when Mr. Stewart wrote in the letter he sent us how much he's learned in a very short period of time. And there certainly is a big learning curve there. I've talked to a number of people about him, and everybody's been very impressed with his participation. I think continuity, especially in this setting, has a lot of value. Again, I would reiterate what others have said, that that's who I'm going to be supporting. And thanks again to everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else got anything they'd like to add? Well, I just want to make sure that everybody that's in the minutes, that this is a 5-year appointment. The appointment starts when the Gunstock Commission meets the next time, and you'll be sworn in at that meeting. The 4 applicants are, if it wasn't for the experience of Mr. Stewart, I wouldn't have any idea who to vote for. The experience that he's already had, the 2 years, is put me in his direction. The way the voting is going to go here tonight is he's going to call the roll. Clerk is going to call the roll. You're going to say who you want to vote for. And I believe we have 14 voting members here, 12 physically and 2 on Zoom. So that would mean that you need to get 8 votes. So the person that gets 8 votes or more, we will keep eliminating the low man on the totem pole, so to speak, as the voting goes on. Does the delegation have any questions? No questions? You call the roll, sir.
All right, this is for the appointment to Gunstock Commission for a 5-year term. Please announce which candidate you'll be voting for. There's Robert Binda, Sean Lord, Terry Stewart, and Katie Bovier. Representative Bean.
I'm going to be voting for Terry Stewart.
Representative Bowden. Who do you want to vote for? You've stated.
Terry.
Thank you. Representative Boards.
Stewart.
Representative Boger.
Stewart.
Representative Comtois.
Haley Bogan.
Representative Dumas.
Stewart.
Representative Harvey Bullock.
Stewart.
Representative Hewitt.
Haley Wogan.
Representative McCarter.
Haley Bulware.
Representative Nagel.
Stewart,
Clerk votes for Stewart. Representative Bourget.
This is Terry Stewart.
Representative St. Clair.
Terry Stewart.
Representative Terry.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Clerk, we have a winner with 11 votes. Terry Stewart will be appointed to Gunstock Commission.
Terry Stewart will be
Reappointed.
reappointed for a 5-year term, and the 3 that were not chosen, I hope that you reapply next year. You're all very good candidates. Is what it is, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
All right, right, gentlemen, we're good. Back apple. If you're done.
So,